Got back to the city of Cape Town a day or two ago, and Betsy is still in good shape. Was behind a locked gate here. Ice cold in Cape Town, but luckily we brought back these awesome hoodies from Team Bravery. How's it, man? How are you? Lekker, my brother. We had good security guards over here looking after her. This week is gonna get pretty busy. We have to take Betsy in to start up our pump system. We are in need of a pump that's up to spec that can run a centrifuge. The centrifuge was sent over by Michael from PA Biodiesel Supply in the United States, and that's gonna upgrade our system so that we can also run on used motor oil, which is fantastic. The Into Food production company invited us to come over for 2 more shifts. After all of the recruitment drives, media interviews, connecting some Fanconi family members in South Africa to the needed specialists, we are going to head over to Piketberg. Also brought back a sticker you can add on to our collection. We've just heard back that Betsy has been re-registered as a self-propelled caravan, which is awesome. It was a difficult process to get through. We had to weigh her in, get her through the test again, but that re-registration will allow us to keep the license updated, but without having the need to go through vehicle testing every year, which is pretty cool. Got to pay the licensing fee for that, but luckily I got awarded second place for the Amy Wynn and Christopher Bird Award, which gave us just enough cash to pay that license fee. It's about 20 grand, so I don't know how we would have done that otherwise. Then also got amazing support from Orion Marks and Charlie Scott from Team Bravery in the United States, who supported us with some funds to keep us going this month. Hirsch is located on the opposite side of the city, too far to drive every day, so finding a safe place to sleep was something to take into account. Alright, so today is a working day. We're gonna pack up the truck now. Also gonna put all of the oil. My sister brought us some oil from her food truck business, Jackrabbit, and I'm gonna pump that up into the tank because we might make use of that when we are trying to figure out the pump system on that centrifuge. I'm gonna open up the centrifuge a bit later when we get to the spot. Hirsch Hydraulics. Hirsch is going to assist us in kind of putting together the right pump with the right specs. So I've got a 185 gallon per hour centrifuge, which works out to about 11 liters per minute, and it needs to run at 90 psi. Those guys will be able to make that calculation. I think we're going to go for an electric pump, so 220 volts, which is what we have on the inside of the truck. So while I've got the oil pumping up, I've got the wastewater pumping out. This was very convenient having this at this spot, running our washing machine or whatever. We could just pump it out, or even our shower water. So the grey tank takes about 150 litres of grey water. I can pump up about 250 litres of fuel if I use the jerry cans too. So I've got 150 litres in the tank, and then another 100 litres on the back of the rack. We could use a portion of the award funds to get a custom gazebo cover and tablecloths printed for our recruitment drives and events, and stop to drop our gazebo frame off on the way to Hirsch. Sophie Lundy have just arrived at Hirsch Hydraulic Services. Robert here. It's a very interesting vehicle. His G Wagon over there also runs on used cooking oil. That was probably the first time that we've seen or met anybody else doing that. And Chris and them have all got clever ideas of how we are going to put that pump together. So yeah, let's find out. This is a sponsor, guys. Yeah. We just got a knife or something. I've been aching to open this up. Robert here, Michael, are going to help me glue together an idea for the pump. It's got to have a certain spec to it.
7cc, 7.3cc. We could go up to 8.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that's perfect. Can we work on 6 bar? I hope 0.75, otherwise we might have a 1.1.
Yeah, well at 20 bar you only need half a kilowatt. So
This thing is restricted to
okay,
6
the
bar.
centrifuge itself is restricted to 6 bars.
blow off, yeah.
Oh, it'll blow off. Okay.
It'll be regulated bypass.
Okay.
It'll work at 6 bar and the rest is going to push the oil to the regulator. You'll find the pressure going to 6 bar and that's it, and then the rest will blow off.
So just before the centrifuge, you'll have a gauge and a
bypass.
Okay, and a bypass.
Okay.
So if there's more pressure, it releases. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. What if he wants to run that line distance past the exhaust to heat the oil up? The longer the line, the more of a drop. Okay, so we might not even need that.
Have a bypass before it goes to the centrifuge, a manual 3-way valve. You're still returning into your tank. The relief will be a
It
safety.
goes back to the elevator.
You don't want the 6 bar blowing off all the time. You don't want
I'm with you. It's going to create problems.
12 times 6 divided by 600 divided by 0.85. You're making like 140 watts of heat.
Pipe the exhaust.
They're going to go run from the pump pipe along next to the exhaust to heat it up to I think 170 Fahrenheit, which was about 76 degrees.
You put electrical elements in, but that takes power. If your oil goes up above 80, your seal in the front will start backing up. You have to change that.
Okay, the pump seal. Would you do steel pipe then, not 3/8 hose?
The rubber will crack.
So you got to go steel pipe.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, this one you can actually mount
yeah.
on top of your tank.
Instead of having this with your tank of oil. So it's a 0.75 kilowatt, 220 volts, 1400
Okay.
revs per minute.
Yeah. I said 470.
470.
Yeah,
Comes
is
off.
that Right.
You take this off and clear all your...
Yeah.
There we go.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Just pulled in at Hirsch Hydraulic. How's it, Michael? We are going to start on the centrifuge system today. Michael informed me that his dad, who's the owner of the spot, has agreed to donate the supplies that we need, the pump as well as the electric motor, which is awesome. I'm just walking over to him now to meet and thank him. First step is going to be to lower down the rack, get the jerry cans off there so that I can drain all of the oil from the tank. Then take it off and then probably see where we're going to fit that pump. I think the pump is going to go right at the back there on some sort of a bracket. Before we start changing here, I just want to show you how it's set up at the moment. I've got a fuel line going from underneath the oil tank, and then it goes to the shuttle valve here, a small inline filter, and then another shuttle valve, and then a pump for when I am bleeding the system. That just helps me get the fuel through. When we install the centrifuge on top of the tank, there's going to be no need for this filter. Well, in theory, there's going to be no need for this filter. Gonna drain all of the oil in the tank now, and then take a couple of measurements to see where the pump as well as the electric motor is going. Remove the tank and then do what we need to do.
Balls it through the element
Yeah.
and spirals it out.
That's freaking awesome. Went up to Robert's workshop here and he's got the most interesting thing. I mentioned these elements that we were going to use, but he's come up with a much better idea. He's had this little MacGyver standing around in his garage for what, 30 years, eh?
Yeah.
It circulates the oil, heats it up, and it can keep the temperature constant. So we are just trying to figure out a plan how we can incorporate this into the system.
I wanted the clear one, but when I told them you might be using engine oil, then they said no, then I have to take.
The engine oil would eat the casing.
This is more solid on the casing.
10-inch rope
Yeah.
filter fits in, and I can probably get those.
You
just
should be
about
able to.
anywhere.
I asked them, you should be able to get them.
And yours on the oil lasted for like a year or something.
Yes. But remember, I pre-filtered mine.
Yeah. So at the moment I've got those little inline filters that I pressurize the first tank, the oil through the filters, and I can only do that twice, 2 full tanks, and then I've got to replace the filter. Robert has come up with an excellent idea. He's actually been running that G Wagon on waste cooking oil, and one of his main filters that he uses are these rope filters, and they are cheap and you can find them pretty much anywhere, and he suggested that I put one of those in between the 2 tanks. Pressurize the one tank, send it through that, send it into my secondary tank, then heat the oil. Once the oil is heated, pump it with the pump that Hirsch Hydraulics is going to supply us into the centrifuge. Basically, that is as far as you can go in getting the oil as clean as possible. What we've got going now is we want to check how long this little contraption takes to heat up the cooking oil, and I've got my Victron system connected to my phone so we can see how much power it uses. The unit is pulling, it says 1441 watts worth of power from the solar. It is a cloudy day, but from the solar we're getting in almost 600 watts worth of power, and we're gonna time it and see how long it takes to heat up that bucket of oil. So this system runs your diesel tank.
This system runs a 35 litre tank, and then this one was a changeover between the 2 tanks. The return line.
Yes.
You know, yours goes back to your...
Yes, goes back to your tank, yeah.
If you're running diesel, you have to run it back to diesel tank. If you're running oil,
Yes.
it goes back to oil tank.
I'll show you what I've got in the truck for that. How do you open up your oil? Let's say you're running on the diesel now, and now you want to open up to oil.
Press the button.
Have you got a solenoid or a
Yeah,
thing?
I've got a... I'll just switch it.
Just the switch, eh?
I'll just switch it over.
So far we've heated up the oil to 45, so almost 46 degrees Celsius, and my battery power is standing on 96% charge. As I mentioned, it's a cloudy day. I've only got about 250 watts worth of solar power coming in. On a sunny day I would have at least 1700 watts coming in, so it looks like it's going to work perfectly. It might just take slightly longer to get it to the temperature that we wanted in the big tank, but it's taken basically about 15 minutes to get it to this temperature, so awesome. I've got the tank down. It's gonna give me a good level surface to mount the pump, the heater and the centrifuge. We also got Joshua here, he's the fitter and turner. He's quite excited to get to welding on this tank. They've already got lekker ideas like using these riv nuts to secure the centrifuge to the tank, because obviously you can't get to a nut and a bolt on the inside. So this is the base of the centrifuge, and it mounts, as you can see there's 4 holes at the bottom there. It'll mount on this flat surface. I've got this unit, I'm not sure what this is, but I've never used it, so I know I don't need it. I'm going to cut that off, clean it up in the middle here. Then we have 3 spots available. We've got a spot here for, let's say, the heating unit, a spot for the centrifuge, and a spot for the pump. So in order for our plan to work, I've got some spaces at the back of these brackets here, and obviously we've got to extend the pieces of steel that come down, and so that these brackets can move down, so that the whole tank can move down. That's what I'm busy doing now, making new spaces. What Joshua inside is going to do is he's going to mill out a portion of that 20mm plate so that it can fit over this plate, making both of the spaces equal. I hope that makes sense. Joshua is going to mill this down for us to give us about 6mm with the flesh so that we can bolt that onto the torsion-free subframe, making it equal to the left-hand side spacer plate. Michael just brought over the pump that's going to be running the system, and I must say that looks pretty impressive.
Then that'll all be submerged, that'll be the pump, that'll then be turned by the electric motor, and that'll then supply to your centrifuge.
It's quite a hefty motor. Alright, Yuri also took me for a bit of a walk around to check out and explain the pump's inner workings, which was pretty cool. And Michael also showed me upstairs the setup that they've got going to run this testing station. Let me just show you. So I'll show you guys a little bit later what runs this setup. And this is how they test the pump. Myself and Joshua had a good look at this tank setup and the mounting. So this is the mounting that we were going to use to try and secure this pump to the tank. But after Michael brought the pump down yesterday, I realized that thing is way too big. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is the pump and the motor. I picked this up just now and it's quite heavy. The weight of this, I think it's going to be way too heavy, and the vibrations of corrugations in Africa is going to probably break that mounting point. This bolted onto the chassis is probably the strongest mounts that we can make, so I think that's going to be lacquer. And then have the 220 volt power just go through the floor and plug into one of the bedroom sockets or something like that.
The suction, so it filters through there, goes onto there.
Okay.
And that's our little return pipe.
So that returns into the tank.
So then your oil will draw from below, and that'll go to the top. So your oil that comes back doesn't go straight back to where you're sucking from.
Today's job is to take the brackets off so that I can measure up these holes in the new spacer plates, get everything cut and mounted onto the chassis.
Okay.
Have we got a
Marker.
scribe or a marker or something?
Where's this?
Here's a marker.
Yeah, it was good.
I am going to get to work early today. Slept lacquer in the parking lot. This is our spot for the evening. We've slept here for 2 nights now, and it's good spot. We've got water plug in as well as a drain. Always helps to have like a spot where you can empty out your grey water tank, because obviously it fills up with the shower. So I've got it over here. Progress on the tank is going well. We've got that pump in. I was a bit worried that it was going to vibrate on the top here, but yeah, after Joshua welded it up at the bottom there and we added this brace at the back mounted to the support beam on the chassis, it is very sturdy. I'm going to cut off this fuel line here, make a hole there, and this is where the centrifuge is going to sit. And then Robert's coming back today with quite an interesting plan. We tried to use that heater with the pumping unit, but the problem with that was in installing it on the tank and sealing it up. It was going to leak. An awesome plan, but not practical on the application. What we're going to do instead is he is going to see if he can find a 2 kilowatt geyser element, meaning it's waterproof, number one. So if we do fit it into the tank, we can fit it onto the side at the bottom in the center. That'll heat up the oil, and obviously heat goes up, so in turn we don't really need a motor to circulate everything to heat up the oil, and a 2 kilowatt should get us up to temperature in no time, and we do have enough power for that. I think that's most people's concern, is can you run that amount of power on our system? Yes, you can. We've got a 5 kilowatt battery, we've got about 2000 watts worth of solar power on the roof, so as long as I keep an eye on my Victron app, I'm good. And the pump apparently doesn't pull a lot of power as well. So what we'll do first is basically I'll force everything like I've been doing for the last year from the other tank to this tank via air pressure, and instead of using those little inline filters that we have, pass it through the rope filters just to give it like a pre-clean. Everything that passes through the centrifuge, it'll take about 20 minutes to do this whole tank, and then clean out the centrifuge. And then the idea is that you wouldn't have any filters at the front. I'm still going to keep them there just because they're in place, but it means I don't have to replace them that regularly. tank is looking pretty good. The problem was actually flappering down this rubberizing, because the rubberizing just gels up on the flapper disc. They've got paraffin in this unit, so I'm just trying to scrape off as much as I can. We're going to be repainting it short. Thanks, man. And then Robert has just arrived with a geyser element, and they're just looking for a fitting to be able to install that unit to the tank. So very lekker. You got it.
1.25 VSP.
Can we weld this into the tank?
Tank, yeah.
Robert is busy with the filter housing for the rope filter, so he's just making up a bracket for that to be able to mount it behind the toolbox. We won't be able to add a nut to the inside of the tank, so we are going for these riv nuts. It's basically going to be pressed in like a pop rivet. Got the tank finished up, paint it, and then mount everything together and connect all the hoses up. These riv nuts worked really well. Now we are moving. The tank is dry, just about to start up the deck, get everything on there. We've also got this water filter in there, so we're going to use a rope filter in that. The centrifuge has got to get all the sediments out, right? But the pump can't necessarily handle any large pieces of sediment above 10 microns. That'll eventually damage the pump, so we've got to put it through like a pre-filtering stage, which is going to be that. Then heat up the tank using the geyser elements, and then send up the cooking oil via the pump through the centrifuge. That drains into the tank so it loops, cleaning the tank and then taking it through to the injectors. I'll still keep those filters in the front there just as a safety feature. Later on today we are going to head to Komiki to meet up with a good friend of ours, Mark Sampson, who's played a vital role in actually us coming up with the cooking oil idea. He actually taught us, how's it guys? Robert's got everything in place for the centrifuge, so he's planned out the piping on this, as well as got a nice gauge for us to make sure that we don't go over the recommended 90 psi that PA biodiesel supply gave us. I think one thing that we will have to work on eventually is visually closing up the system on the tanks, because it's going to be nice and shiny and new. In the next 2 months we're heading into the rest of Africa, and it's best not to lead people into temptation. Is this early for him, eh?
It's early. You're working overtime, actually. That's early
Yeah.
for me.
It is a beautiful Friday and we're just about to finish up with this system and run it for the first time, which I think is going to be awesome. Aesthetically it looks fantastic. That pump is quite expensive. If the wrong person gets the chance, they'll probably try and take that off. I was thinking of closing it up here when we get to Piketberg later on in the month. Myself and Yolandi pumped over the oil yesterday afternoon from the first tank to the second tank through this filter housing. That's working a lot better than the inline fuel filters that I used to carry with me. A lot quicker. Robert also got me a full set of replacement filters. So these one around a plastic barrel. We are set up to test run this contraption. Start heating up the tank until we get to 70 degrees Celsius. Then we'll switch on the pump. We'll play with this dial until we can get the pressure up to 90 psi, which is about 6.3 bar, so that the centrifuge starts spinning and that dumps the clean oil back into the tank. Victron. This is also still running. We're at 61% battery charge and the sun has just cracked onto the solar panel, so I'm getting about 500 watts worth of solar. We're going to test run it to see how much power this element is going to pull before it gets to 70 degrees Celsius, and then switch on the pump, so that's also a bit of electricity. We're going to check the temperature with this sensor. That went up to 1900 watts worth of power. Like any man, eh? Lost his keys. While we wait for the tank to heat up, Robert's going to show us his van, which is a very lucky little vehicle. Old G Wagon, short wheelbase. Also runs on used cooking oil, as I mentioned before. But he's also got a little kitchen set up here. And oh, awesome, eh?
There's the kettle.
Where's your 10 liters of water?
Yeah, I haven't got it there.
Oh, so usually you keep your water there?
In the corner, yeah.
Yo, that's very neat and tidy. Did you make that yourself?
Yeah, I make everything myself.
Yeah.
So I've got this and another one there as a spare. I've got 4 solar panels in that boxy there.
You store in there and then you
Yeah,
just
I
take
just
them out.
slide
when you-
them out.
Nice.
That's my one set of drawers. I did this to make this as a table,
Okay.
to work on. My big tables in it, they fit up in here.
Yes. What's that?
To take it my tie off. Too
Oh,
heavy.
lekker.
My tie is too heavy to pick up now. So I'm swinging there and I'm gonna have a little winch. Then I've got my rooftop tent. It folds completely open here. And I've got a ladder coming up the front. So we enter from the front into the rooftop
That's
tent.
awesome.
That's my shower cubicle.
That's so clever.
Then I'll just hook my
The shower curtain.
or bathroom or toilet or something like
Yeah,
that.
this is a normal aluminium step ladder that Josh welded up, because obviously the welding is a bit technical, and then that opens up so he doesn't have to stretch his hips as far and you can get up top there. It's running at 1950 watts now, so 2 kilowatts, but it switches off, so that means it's reached its max temperature. We're going to switch on this pump now, let all the oil pass through, and then slowly push this up until we can maintain a pressure of 6.3 bars. Yeah, the centrifuge will run. Sounding better. The snout was vibrating against the tank. There's quite a bit of gunk in there. Although it was clean oil, it was pre-filtered oil, so it did definitely do its job. And I'm going to clean this out now. We just discovered a small leak that we're going to fix up with some rubber gasket seals, and then try and run the system again. But so far it's working pretty well. so this is trial 2. On the first one we had a leak on that gasket seal as the tank is slightly bent, and they've also made some improvements as we had a rattle, so that's fantastic. Robert's going to start it up for us now. It's already heated to 70 degrees Celsius. Yeah, same process as the last one.
Good job. Okay. Right now. Good. Yeah.
Cool. You need a hug, eh?
This footage was taken a year after and shows the sludge that we can remove after a single wheel pickup. The Matches on the Map project is proudly supported by our loyal Patreon members and our official partners. Support our journey by checking out our website, subscribing to our channel, or signing up as one of our Patreon members.